welcome to the Red Bear Farm, guys. Today I want to do a very short, very brief garden tour of my vegetable garden. I hope you enjoy it. And without any further ado, here we go. Here's the entry into our garden. We have a series of arches with roses growing up them. This is a new dawn rose. And on the other side we have a red Eden rose. If you watch any of my earlier videos, you probably have seen red Eden in full bloom. Right now it's been transplanted, so it's doing much better than before, but it still needs a little bit of time to adjust. We have some of the roses here getting ready to be planted as well. And right here you see a lot of raspberries that are starting to come up. They've been just planted a couple of months ago, so just the fact that we have some berries hanging on them already makes me really excited. We have another arch in here with a different kind of a rose here. And this one is a fragrant breeze rose. It's a very small flowers, but it's typically covered with lots of them. It's been doing pretty well. It's well established at this point. And we have another one, much younger rose on this side. It's a little bit of blackberries in here. And here is an actual vegetable garden. We have several raised beds with tomatoes here. Another raised bed with some herbs, citrus trees, peppers, and lots of decorative flowers in there as well, sages and cigar plant. A really tall, really bright Mexican sunflower. Right here we have 3 artichokes. There used to be one plant that was growing in a raised bed, but it was starting to take over, so we dig it out and turned out that it had lots of newer growth, so we separated all of them, plant them in the different parts of the garden. We have sunflowers in that bed, and on the bottom we have a lot of sweet potatoes growing. This is mostly mix again. It's cucumbers, melons on the trellises. We have some eggplants growing in the same bed. We have some squashes growing in here. You can see squashes are starting to spill out outside of the bed. We have some pretty good sized melons on here as well. Some of the pumpkins. More melons and cucumbers. We also have some eggplants. Just recently our eggplants got hit by caterpillars, so we're collecting them every day, but they still cause some damage to our eggplants. Melons. We have some additional cucumbers growing in here. This bed got overtaken by Armenian cucumber and melons, and you can see it's almost trying to join forces with the sweet potatoes on this side. Really dense foliage and the huge cucumbers. Let me see if I can pass through here. We also have other plantains in here. We have Jerusalem artichokes on the very back here. And we have some asparagus. If you ever planted asparagus, you know that first 2 years they will be growing, but you will not be collecting any fruit from them. So that's what we have here. Hopefully by the time we get melons and Armenian cucumber out, it will give plenty of room for our other plants here. There's another bed that we just planted recently with the peppers, different kinds of peppers, and a couple of tomato plants. We have a couple of benches here to collect our harvest, and we have another experimental garden here in the pots with different kinds of tomatoes and a couple of peppers. Again, some tomatoes and basil in here. And here is our future orchard. We have all the fruit trees in here. Piles of leaves and mulch in between is set there on purpose. It's going to be a future bed in between the trees, and ideally I'd like to plant here plants that will prevent diseases and bugs from the trees. All the trees right now have onions and garlics growing around them. So in the future there will be additional plants like dill and parsley and borage and chives. This is a little stone bed with some flowers. We have a anise hyssop right here, and a cornflower, a little bit of sage. The big foliage in the middle, that's the hollyhocks. They haven't grown very much yet, but they will be. And we have some Russian kale in here, along with a bit of rosemary. And these are the main vegetable beds that we have. As you can see, the salad is almost done. We have a little bit of carrots and a little bit of onions in here. We also have planted some of the squashes, yellow squash and zucchinis in here, and I've been slowly pulling them out and been replacing them with the new peppers, as you can see right here. Some parsley. Here in the pots, as an experiment, my husband is growing dragon fruit from the seeds. And considering they were grown out of the seeds from the grocery store, they're doing pretty well. Another bed full of mixed planting. Again, we have some little bit of rosemary, onions, a bit of squash. This is a mortgage tomato. I've tried that tomato for many years, and it's called mortgage lifter, and I've never really had success with that, so this year I'm trying it again. We have a little bit of beans growing up the trellises here, and a bit of peppers and eggplants. Some white beans here. We have more squash and basil. And in the corner there we have salvias. In this bed we have several tomatoes plants and a bee balm. This is the golden bee balm, that's why it's this color. It could almost turn white on some of the leaves. Another bee balm just spent. We're just waiting for the seeds to come up. There's several different kinds of tomatoes here, and we have some onions underplanted here. We have a total of 5 these big beds here, and all of them are planted with the mixed, and we have a lemongrass here and a couple of zucchinis and some tomatoes. This is a really good tomato, but unfortunately it kind of got out of control for me, so I did not trim it properly. I'm just letting it be right now. Not gonna touch it because it does produces quite a bit of tomatoes, and it seems to be doing okay. A little bit of Russian red kale in here as well. And here's another bed again with a little bit of squash. This is a white scallop squash, and you can see some of them going in there. I've also planted some young peppers in here. Let's see how that goes. And on the trellis here we have a mix of cucumbers and melons. This seems to be doing well. This is getting pretty close to be ready. There's several different types of melons on the same trellis here. We have a little bit of future watermelons in here. And a butternut squash here. I wasn't sure about planting cucumbers along with the melons, but this seems to be doing well. Seems like they're perfectly fine sharing the space. So I'm actually planted a couple of more melons on the bottom here from the seed. They're coming up. Hopefully they'll do exactly the same thing as this butternut right here, start spreading on the ground rather than staying in that bed. And I'd like to show you some of the melons I have here. I have two different kinds. One is called Gold Star, which is this one. And I'm not sure what that stripy one is, but I'll look it up and post it on the screen for you all to see. On this side I have a couple of other fruit trees. I have an apple tree and planted this year, but it's starting to produce. I have 7 apples, so hopefully we'll get at least 1 apple to try it. Cherry trees, it's not doing too hot, but it seems to be growing from the bottom, so we'll see. We have 2 rows of things that are growing parallel to each other here. We have grapes on the trellises, a loquat or a Japanese apricot, some roses and herbs on the bottom. We just collected a lot of grapes from these 2 new plants, and there is a muscadine grape is still hanging on the plant. We'll wait a little bit longer for it, but it seems to be doing okay for the first year. Another trellis right here when we have 2 different kinds of kiwis. This is a cold hardy kiwi, and it's supposed to be size of a large raspberry or size of a very small lime, completely hairless and very sweet. And a traditional kiwi that we all know that has a fuzzy skin and larger is right here. This is only about a year-old plant. And then I have some roses in the bottom here. There's another grape, and sage salvias. On the bottom of the salvia we have a plant that I thought froze for the winter last year, but it's called white wing, and it has 1 flower and 1 leaf that are always white. Mexican petunia they're trying to establish on the other side. And we have roses. This is another rose here that's going up the trellis. And this is a new dawn rose. And on the other side is red dawn. I'm sorry, red Eden. Here's another picture of a Jerusalem artichoke. As you can see, it has a really pretty flowers. And at the end of the season we'll dig up some roots, and that's the eatable part. We'll plant some of it back and use some of the larger ones to eat. We have another melon here that's trying to grow. There's several very small ones here. There's a bit of a larger one under this leaf. Here's my other experimental bed. This is a very tall one. It has a lemongrass, and I'm trying to grow blueberries in here. Blueberries typically don't grow really well in Texas, so I'm trying to closely monitor the soil conditions on this too. They also interplanted with mint and some, again, Russian kale here. And on the other side of it we have white scallop squash and coreopsis there. I have two different kinds of white scallop squash. One is a bush and one is more of a vine, which is on this side. And I think next year I'm gonna try to grow only the bush kind because it's a little bit more manageable. Produces about the same amount of fruit as the other one, but it's a lot smaller and more compact. Here's another experiment here. This is a bed that have a composter in it. As you can see, this wire mesh, actually we put food scraps, kitchen scraps there, grass clippings, anytime I put all the weeds that don't have seeds, I put it in there. And I have peanuts planted in here. So this is pretty much my garden. I hope you guys enjoy the tour. If you have not subscribed, please do subscribe to our channel. I will have a monthly garden tours. I'm still working on a full garden tour, and as always I'm kind of hoping that will be things are going to be a little bit more manageable, weeds are going to be pulled out, and it's going to look pretty. But reality of the garden, that it's probably never going to happen. So I will work on the next one, and I promise you next month I will have a full garden video. Thank you. Please subscribe again, and see you next time.